with the condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put two dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Samir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coons. The white man that go nuts if he cash you. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your
Ahmadiyyah.
skin?
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, even to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations, I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
I'm getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation.
Queen.
Touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all in Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threat.
This is the sound of Eric Malcolm.
It's a cut on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threat. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans, and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my
about it.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is another dose of your morning wake-up call. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, listen, I was just sitting here getting some more receipts for you guys. I was distracted, clearly. Okay, so we're about to get into it. We're about to get into it because the election is literally right around the corner, just about 2 more weeks, okay? And so we got to get into it, okay? So everyone, please like the video. Please hit those likes. I'll get those likes up, y'all. No, don't make me pause the video again like I did on the last live. With that all being said, let's get into it, beloveds, okay? Shout out to everyone in the chat, everyone tuned into the Queen. Shout out to my moderators putting in work. Listen, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Dr._A_Shakur, TikTok at Dr.A_Shakur, and Twitter at DGoddess27. And as per usual, if you don't like what the Queen is cooking, you already know what to do. Okay? And so let's get into it. Hello, Christopher Perkins. Okay, so I'm not thinking about voting today, Queen, okay? That crazy bitch Aries, Nessie X, Abolia Faletti, Queen Sam, Most Hated Bronze Flat Power God, Deneen Grant. Okay, let's get into it. Above all that drama, all hell no. So the threats from the Queen are legendary. Love her is in the house. Juju B said the Queen is queening. Thank you. Okay, Leon Gardner is here. All right, Red Wine Entertainment, Claudette Dervis is in the house. Okay, shout out to everybody. Now let's get this party started. Now, let me just tell you guys, I have not watched Kamala's interview with Haley Jackson. I have not watched it, so I'm going to be seeing it for the first time with you guys. Okay, because I actually forgot about it until this morning. Okay, so we're going to be watching this and we're going to see. Hopefully, Kamala didn't use any word salad. Okay, because I think we're all pretty much full. In fact, we're stuffed with the word salad. Okay, so let's get into it. All right, here we go. Likes up. I'm going to share my screen. And by the way, if you missed the last broadcast that I literally just did on this channel about Diddy, more receipts on Diddy, please go back and watch. Okay? If you're interested in the Diddy news.
I agree with you. Thank you.
Rust Belt battlegrounds, as they call them,
Yeah.
talking with undecided voters.
Yes.
You are reaching out that olive branch to these voters. You want to bring them on board. For them, for so many voters, we know that a huge issue for them is the economy.
Right.
It's the cost of living. I've been on the campaign trail. I hear that in the field again and again. You look at some of the numbers on this, and our new NBC News poll shows that more voters think that the Biden administration policies have hurt them rather than helped them. And I wonder, are the last 4 years an obstacle to you in this race?
Here's how I look at it. First of all, let me be very clear. Mine will not be a continuation of the Biden administration. I bring my own experiences, my own ideas to it, and it has informed a number of my areas of focus, most of which are, on to your point, lowering costs. I am traveling the country. I am very clear. Cost of groceries still too high. The voters know it. I know it. So part of my plan includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries, including.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Will you guys keep watching? I have someone at the door. I'm expecting a package, so I'll be right back.
Including the work I will do dealing with price gouging, something I dealt with when I was Attorney General, something I will deal with going forward. Cost of housing. You know, I'm speaking with people of every background in every area of the country, of every age. And, you know, the idea of the American dream was something that previous generations could count on, not as much anymore. Bringing down the cost of housing by doing what I have done in my career that perhaps is a different approach, which is really actively working with the private sector, for example, home builders, to create incentives for them to build millions of new homes and housing units so we can bring down the cost, including what I will do to give people a $25,000 down payment assistance if they are a first-time home buyer. So these are examples. The example is what I'm going to do to expand the child tax credit because, listen, young parents in particular, they need help. They have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources. $6,000 extra during the first year of their child's life can help them buy a crib or a car seat or clothes, the things that are so crucial to that phase of their child's development. So my plans and my policies are really directed at exactly your point, doing what we must do to bring down the cost of living, but also to help people not just get by, but get ahead. And I'm proud to report to you that economists from Nobel laureates to Goldman Sachs have reviewed my economic plan versus Donald Trump's, and in comparison have found that my plans will strengthen America's economy. His plans will weaken America's economy.
Then why do you think that's not landing with voters? Because
but
in
I
the
think it
numbers,
is.
it's the opposite.
I'm going to tell you guys why it isn't landing with voters. Quite frankly, it isn't landing with voters, and I'll speak for myself. I can't speak for everyone, but the reason it's not landing with me is because I don't believe it. And the reason I don't believe it is because she literally just sat there and said that groceries are still too high. Well, Kabami, if you know that groceries are still too high, why haven't you and Biden done anything about it? And since you haven't done anything about it, beloved, I have to wonder what you're going to do about it now, after the election, if you get in office. If you didn't care about it the whole 3.5 years that you've been in office, why should we expect you to care about it when you become president, if you in fact do become president? I just don't understand. This is why it's not landing with voters, because we don't believe her. Because you could have already been doing something. Nessie said, damn right, good point. Okay, thank you. This is all crazy. And now y'all first in me says she just can't leave Trump's name out of her mouth. Well, that's so obvious. I mean, she's literally acting as if Trump is in office right now. Okay, so, and not her and Biden, but let's continue.
Former President Trump leads you on this issue.
Well, when I'm out, this is why I'm going out to Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, excuse me. Just got in late this morning, actually. But going to 3 states yesterday, and I'm going to continue being on the road. I have to earn the vote. And it means sharing with folks my plan, but also offering them what objective analysts have shown to be the contrast between me and Donald Trump. My plans are focused on working people, the middle class, and what we must do to strengthen hardworking people to be able to do what they dream and aspire to be able to do. His plans are about giving tax cuts, massive tax cuts, to billionaires and big corporations. His so-called plan for the economy, economists have estimated, will exacerbate inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. So there's a huge difference between he and I.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans may qualify for help from National Debt Relief.
Let me ask you about something that you said when you were running for president the last time around, back in 2019. At the time, you said that the elephant in the room was whether the country was ready for a woman and a woman of color to be president. So let me ask you, as you sit here today, do you think the country is ready now for a woman and a woman of color to be president?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I am saying that in terms of every walk of life of our country. You know, I think part of what is important in this election is really not only turning the page, but closing the page and the chapter on an era that suggests that Americans are divided. What I know from personal experience, from lived experience, and from my travels, even most recently, the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And what the American people want in their president is a president for all Americans, which is the type and kind of president I pledge to be. This is my life's work. As you know, I started as a prosecutor. I never asked a victim of crime, a witness to crime, are you a Republican or Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them is, are you okay? And that's what the American people want to know, regardless of their race, regardless of their gender or their age. They want to know that they have a president.
Sorry, did she say this again? Did she literally just say this again? This is what she's already said. That she never asked them whether they were a Democrat or a Republican. I just asked them, are you okay? She's already used this talking point. How many times is she going to keep saying the same thing over and over? I'm sorry. Someone please make it make sense, but let's continue.
President who sees them and understands their needs and focuses on their needs, understanding we all deserve to have a president who is focused on solutions and not just fanning the flames of division and hate.
You've been reluctant to lean into, to talk about the historic nature of your candidacy on the campaign trail. Why is that?
Well, I'm clearly a woman. I don't need to point that out to anyone. The point that most people really care about is can you do the job? And do you have a plan to actually focus on them?
I hear you on
and
that.
that is why I spend the majority of my time listening and then addressing the concerns, the challenges, the dreams, the ambitions, and the aspirations of the American people. They deserve to have a president who's focused on them, as opposed to a Donald Trump who's constantly focused on himself. I think that's part of why people are exhausted with
She says people are exhausted because Donald Trump is only focused on himself. Yeah, we pretty much are exhausted, beloved, but I think we're more so exhausted about you keeping Trump's name in your mouth, spewing word salad, not answering questions directly, and saying the same old stale, dry, okay, word salad with no croutons or dressing, talking points over and over again. Okay? And Trump is not in office. So please, at the very least, talk about what Biden has or hasn't done. If you want to separate yourself from Biden, don't you all think that she should just talk about some of the things that Biden hasn't done during his administration that she's going to absolutely do during hers? You see, this is why she's playing checkers. This is why she's playing checkers. She keeps on talking about Trump, but who she should be talking about is Biden. Now, she doesn't have to disparage him, of course, but what she should be doing is making a very good distinction between him and her and their politics. Okay, she should be drawing a line in the sand. And one of the ways that she could do that effectively, in my opinion, I don't know who's her publicist, maybe she should have hired the Queen. Because I would have told her, beloved, that if you want to draw the line in the sand between you and Biden so people view you differently and don't start questioning your politics because they're confusing yours with his, because he's claiming, and you even said yourself, that y'all work together and you were in on the major decisions, what you should have done is said, you know, this is something that I feel like President Biden could have changed or something could have done differently. And so since he didn't, I'm going to. This is what I'm going to do. I understand that we may have dropped the ball a time or two on certain issues, but I promise to pick the ball up and I'm going to carry the torch and keep it moving forward. And we're going to fix the things. I'm going to fix the things where our administration previously has failed. That's what you should have said. That's what you should have said. Am I right? I mean, doesn't that sound better than her constantly blaming Trump for everything that her and Biden have messed up on? Doesn't that sound better than her continuous spewage of word salad? Christopher said, "Don't help her, Queen. You know they watch your show." Oh, you all are something else. Okay, so let's get back to it.
Donald Trump and his approach, because it's all about himself and his personal grievances, and not about the American people, not about how are you going to help families, how are you going to help small businesses, how are you going to strengthen our economy. These are the things I'm focused on. I'm focused on investing in the new industries on which America should lead and be a global leader.
I ask because to implement the agenda that you want to implement, you have to win first. You have to win the White House. And right now there is a big gender gap in this race. Fewer men support you right now than they did President Biden. Some of your allies have suggested there's sexism at play. I wonder, do you think there is sexism at play here?
Let me just tell you something. You've come to my events and you will see there are men and women at those events, whether it be small events or events with 10,000 people. So the experience that I am having is one in which it is clear that regardless of someone's gender, they want to know that their president has a plan to lower cost, that their president has a plan to secure America in the context of our position around the world. They want a president of the United States who honors our military, who understands the importance of America's leadership around international rules and norms. And that is regardless of gender.
So
and that is how I will lead.
Do you not see sexism as a factor in this race at all?
I don't think of it that way. My challenge is the challenge of making sure I can talk with and listen to as many voters as possible and earn their vote. And I will never assume that anyone in our country should elect a leader based on their gender or their race. Instead, that leader needs to earn the vote based on substance and what they will do to address challenges and to inspire people to know that their aspirations and their ambitions can and will be achieved through the opportunity to do that.
Some of those
Okay, once again, I have to cry BS. I have to call BS because here she is saying that no one should be worried about being elected based off of their race, their gender, and all of this stuff. But she's worried about being, elected off of hers. That's why she's saying that she's blackity black, black, black. Okay? That's why she's saying that she's blackity black, black, black. So please miss me with it. And that's why she had Obama. That's why the Democrats had Obama come out there and roast, attempted to roast rather, but come out there and try to drag black men for not voting for her, at the end of the day. That's why they had him come out there. So now it sounds really, it's a whole contradiction for her to now say that people shouldn't be worried about that, or that's not why someone should be worried about being elected, because she's clearly, concerned about being elected by using blackness, okay? Because otherwise, why is that even a factor? Why did she even bring that up in the first place? Because she's the one that started this whole thing about being black during the election cycle. She didn't have to tell anyone what she was. We can all look at her and see or guess. But at the end of the day, that's right. DJ Big Six said chastising black men for no reason. Exactly. Okay. And so I'm sorry. Please make it all make sense. Please make it all make sense, but let's continue.
Those voters that I spoke with at some of the events yesterday, for example, talked about they were there to support you, but also your agenda when it comes to reproductive rights and abortion access. And you have cast this as a matter of literal life and death, as an urgent priority here. If you win, it is entirely possible that Congress will be controlled by Republicans. So what specific concessions would you be willing to make in order to get something done on abortion access as soon as possible?
Well, first of all, look at what has happened since the Dobbs decision came down, a decision that is a direct result of the fact that Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention they would undo the protections of Roe. They did as he intended, and now in 20 states we have Trump abortion bans, which some make no exception for rape or incest, which criminalize healthcare providers in a state like Texas, prison for life for doctors and nurses if they provide reproductive care. And where we have seen this issue on the ballot, to your point about elections, from red states to blue states, when freedom is on the ballot, the American people vote for freedom, regardless of the party they are registered to vote with. We have seen that. And I know that there are members of the United States Congress who are well aware that their constituents are in favor of the very fundamental principle that a woman should be able to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do.
So is a question of pragmatism then, what concessions would be on the table? Religious exemptions, for example, is that something that you would consider?
I don't think we should be making concessions when we're talking about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body.
To Republicans like, for example, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, who would back something like this on a Democrat.
Okay, let me just say something right here. Now, here she goes again talking about reproductive rights and what people should or shouldn't do with their bodies. But I'm sorry, your administration forced people, basically mandated people to take venom. Okay, that's what they did at the end of the day. So I just don't see how she continues to say this. This is all just real ridiculous as far as I'm concerned, okay? I mean, she just keeps saying this over and over. And then let's not forget, these are the ones, the Democrats are the ones who want to take away our rights. They're the ones who want to take away our rights. Okay, Red Wine Entertainment says exactly, Queen, forced. Okay, yes. This is just all so ridiculous. Like, at the end of the day, this is the same old stuff we've already heard. I don't know why she's bothering to do another darn video, because every interview is the same. Why did she even bother to do another one? They're all the same foolish, nonsensical talking points, word salad being spewed, and all of this, and blaming Trump, not taking any accountability. You know, I would be a lot more receptive to her if, in fact, she wasn't just so deceptive. Because let's talk about how she put out that plan and acted as though it's specifically for Black men, only for us to read through it and find that it's for everybody. Okay, it's for all men. So yes. Okay. Love Her says interview on repeat. Yes. We could have just taken her old interview, okay, the one she did on 60 Minutes or any of the others, and just put a different title on it and threw it on the web. Because that's the same old stuff that she's saying. Nothing has changed. Okay, love her says she's just like a robot. Yes, exactly. So let's continue. I'm sorry, you guys, that you have to, that you have to listen to this word salad yet again.
Agenda, if in fact Republicans control Congress, would you offer them an olive branch, or is that off the table? Is that not an option for you?
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals because we can go on with a variety of scenarios. Let's just start with a fundamental fact. A basic freedom has been taken from the women of America. The freedom to make decisions about their own body. And that cannot be negotiable, which is that we need to put back in the protections of Roe v. Wade. And that is it.
But what if you can't do that? What if you can't get that passed and you want to save lives in Florida and in Texas and in Georgia? What do you do?
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole with you right now. Because
it's a question that's out there because it's not a guarantee that Democrats will win control of Congress.
Well, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that we do.
Look at how she didn't want to answer that question. You guys, the things that she is saying, she doesn't even know if she's going to be able to do any of them. And at the end of the day, she also doesn't want to answer the questions when she's asked about that. Okay. Above all that, Drum said, oh, wow, that was tacky. It was. It absolutely was. Like, she's just, here comes it looks like she's about to turn into the same person that she was when she was interviewed by Brett Baier. Okay. Are they going to say this interviewer is being hostile with her and bullying her too because this woman's asking real questions? This is what they do. Please pay attention. And by the way, I'm going to show you guys after this, I'm going to show you guys a video of an Israeli who literally was threatening U.S. politicians. Now, you should be asking yourselves, why is this man feeling so comfortable, on Piers Morgan's platform, threatening U.S. politicians? Okay, you should be asking yourselves that. What do Biden and Kabami have to say about it? I have several questions. I bet they're not going to say anything. That's what they're not going to say.
On this issue, I think that what is clear to me is whether someone is, I was just with one of the leaders and I think opinion leaders in the Republican Party, Liz Cheney, she is, as she has stated publicly and has expressed her
She said it on stage yesterday.
She is pro-life. But she also understands the pain and the tragedy that has happened since Donald Trump allowed Roe v. Wade to be overturned. So that's my point about what is non-negotiable. It has to be that we agree that it is so fundamental that we allow women the ability with their doctor, if they choose talking with their faith leader, to be able to make these decisions and not have the government tell her what to do.
On the question of your beliefs, what you believe in, let me ask you this question very broadly speaking here.
Sure.
Do you believe that transgender Americans should have access to gender-affirming care in this country?
Listing your house on the market isn't the only way to sell your house. Selling to us is much faster.
I believe we should follow the law. I mean, I think you're probably pointing to the fact that Donald Trump's campaign has spent tens of millions of dollars.
They're trying to define you on this.
Yes,
I'm asking you to define yourself, though. Just broadly speaking, what is your value?
Now, see how that lady stopped her right there? The lady asked her a very direct question. Do you believe that transgenders in America should be allowed to have these surgeries? And then she says, I think we should go by the law. Lady, if you're in the White House, you'll be able to make some of these laws. So what do you have to say? But she goes back to Trump. I'm so glad the lady brought the question right back to her. Okay, so let's keep listening because this is all juicy.
Do you believe they should have that access?
I believe that people, as the law states, even on this issue about federal law, that is a decision that doctors will make in terms of what is medically necessary. I'm not.
Okay, I can't. This is absolutely draining. She does not want to answer these questions. She does not want to give her own opinion. Is she afraid of offending someone, perhaps a certain group of people, so that she doesn't win their votes? Is that what she's afraid of? Because it seems like she's on the fence, like she's playing safe. Like she's trying to play it safe. She will not just come out and answer the question. Medically necessary. She sounds like an idiot. Okay, Nandy said medically necessary. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. When would it ever be medically necessary for someone to have gender affirming surgery? That's a want, never a need. And I'm not saying they should be allowed to have it. I'm just saying that's not a medical necessity. That's something that a person chooses to do. A medical necessity is if you need a heart transplant or a bypass or something, okay, a kidney transplant, that's a medical necessity so that you can live and thrive. But if they're talking about just gender affirming surgery, that's not medically necessary. The person may feel that it is, but that's not going to affect whether they live or die. So it's not really medically necessary. And she just doesn't want to answer the question directly because she's afraid to give her opinion. And you know what that says to me? That says to me that she isn't for it. Maybe she isn't for it. Okay? Or maybe she doesn't want to offend the people who think she should not be for it. Or maybe she doesn't want to offend the people who may need these type of surgeries or want these type of surgeries. Maybe she doesn't want to offend them if she says what she truly feels. I don't know. But at the end of the day, she's not giving us much to go on. And this is the reason that I have a problem with her. It's not that I favor Trump over her because I can give two F's about her or Trump, in my opinion. But the bottom line is, this is my problem with her. She refuses to answer easy questions with a simple yes or no, or to express how she really feels. She instead continues to spew word salad, blame everything on Trump, and then just talking riddles, parables, and everything else for us to figure it all out. Okay? That's what she is. She's a walking allegory, as far as I'm concerned. But let's continue.
I'm not going to put myself in the position of a doctor, but let's also understand that Donald Trump is running tens of millions of dollars in ads to talk about two cases, to distract from the fact that his policy and plan is also to take away the Affordable Care Act.
And you're talking to distract us from the fact that you didn't answer that lady's darn question, nor will you answer it. And again, here's Trump. Someone please start taking a note of how many times she says Trump's name in this interview, please. Okay, Pensacola said she's for depopulation. You know, at the end of the day, I don't know what she's for. It does sound like she's kind of for genocide, if you ask me. That's what it's given. Because I'm just curious as to why she can't answer these questions, and she's pushing this abortion thing so forcefully and always using Black women in her ad campaigns for it. Okay, I'm just wanting you all to pay attention. But let's continue.
Which provides health care for tens of millions of people in our country. That his plan is to undo the $35 a month cap on insulin, that it impacts millions of seniors in our country. That his plan is to do away with the $2,000 cap on prescription medication, the annual cap. That his plan is to get rid of the Department of Education, which would mean getting rid of Head Start. That his plan is to give tax cuts to billionaires and big corporations and on the backs of middle-class working people. So let's not get distracted by the issues that, to your point from the introductory point you raised, people want to know that their president has a plan to make their life better. And that includes bringing down the cost of living. It includes dealing with prescription medication costs. It includes addressing the housing crisis and affordable housing crisis in our country. It includes supporting our small businesses, investing in American industries, and strengthening our economy.
I will move on, but I don't know that I heard a clear answer from you on the issue of gender affirming care. It sounds like what you're saying is this should be something between trans Americans and their doctors. It feels like that's a long way from "we see you and we love you," which was your message to trans Americans in May. What do you want the LGBTQ plus community to know as they're looking for a full-throated backing from you for trans Americans?
Now, let me stop right there for just a second. This lady's holding her feet to the fire, and I love it. This lady's like, look, Kabami, you're not getting out of answering this damn question. You're going to tell us right now and right here what you feel about these gender-affirming surgeries, because you've already sat there and told those people that you're for them, you're with them, you're standing there with them, walking in the trenches, boots on the ground, grassroots. You've already told them all these things. Why can't you just say it out of your mouth how you really feel about the surgeries that some of them may want? Let's see what she says, because I'm here for it.
I believe that all people should be treated with dignity and respect. period, and should not be vilified for who they are.
That's not the question. Nobody asked her. You all see, she just will not answer this darn question. No matter how many times this woman's asking her, she will not answer this question directly. And that should speak volumes to all of you. That should speak volumes to all of you. I feel that everyone should be treated with respect, no matter what. What, lady? Why can't you just tell us yay or nay about how you feel? Yeah, I don't know who this lady is. And I don't know who she is. She doesn't want us to know who she is. Who's the real Kabami? This is why I say she's a chameleon, because she says whatever she thinks is necessary or what people want to hear some of the time, but then some of the other time, she avoids questions and skirts around issues and topics, points the finger of blame and shame, gaslights, deflects, whips up more word salad. She keeps tossing up this word salad, and I'm just tired of it.
And should not be bullied for who they are. And that is a true statement for me my entire career. And that has not changed.
Part of the case that you're making to undecided voters and to these late deciding voters is not just the case for you, for what you would do. It's the case against former President Trump. And on that, we are sitting here 2 weeks away from election night. Last election, the former president came out on election night and declared victory before all the votes were counted. What is your plan if he does that again in 2 weeks?
Well, let me say this. We've got 2 weeks to go. And I'm very much grounded in the present in terms of the task at hand. And we will deal with election night and the days after as they come. And we have the resources and the expertise and the focus on that as well.
So you have teams ready to go? Is that what you're saying? Are you thinking about that as a possibility?
Of course. This is a person, Donald Trump, who tried to undo a free and fair election, who still denies the will of the people, who incited a violent mob to attack the United States Capitol, and 140 law enforcement officers were attacked. Some were killed. This is a serious matter. The American people are, at this point, 2 weeks out, being presented with a very, very serious decision about what will be the future of our country. And it includes whether we are a country that values a president who respects their duty to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Donald Trump has said he would terminate the Constitution of the United States. The American people are being presented with a choice here about whether we want a president who understands that America must stand strong as a leader around the globe, or an individual in Donald Trump who openly admires dictators. My goodness, recent reports that he gave COVID tests to the president of Russia during the height of the pandemic here.
And there's reports that you and Biden sent hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel. That's what you and Biden did. Nobody cares about him sending that test over there to Russia. Nobody cares about that. That doesn't affect our lives. But what we do care about is the fact that you and Biden had hundreds of billions of dollars to send to foreign lands when you have people here living on the streets. Some of them fought for this country. There's a whole homeless crisis here. People can barely make ends meet. She said out of her own mouth, groceries are too high. Why haven't you lowered the price? Why haven't you sent people stimulus checks rather than sending money over to foreign lands? What does Zelensky have on you? In my opinion, Zelensky must have something on them. Is he blackmailing you guys? How is he getting all of this money with no questions asked? A whole lot of questions. Okay. And there's been a rumor going around. Now, I can't remember where I read or saw this. I can't remember where I read or saw this. And this is not something I can substantiate. Okay. This is purely speculation. But it has been said that Zelensky had a little old something to do with something that happened to Trump. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Now, it's been said and reported, I can't remember where specifically, as I said, that Zelensky may have had something to do with that. Now, I can't substantiate it, but my question is, does he have something on you guys? Like, why are you guys sending him all of this money, and then You want to sit here and act like it's such a big freaking deal that 4 years ago that Trump sent a test over to Russia. Why should we be concerned about this at this point? Okay, I'm sorry. Why should we be concerned about this at this point? Please make that make sense. Why didn't they bring this up during the last debate? Why didn't they bring this up during the last debate? And I don't mean the debate for this presidential election, for the last one. Okay, for the last one. Because it's all about her and Biden now. It's about them. So it should be at least. But why is she bringing up something that happened in 2020 before Biden was in office? Because when they got in office or when they were on the campaign trail then, why didn't her and Biden bring it up then? Why are they? See, here's what they're doing. They're pulling out all the stops. They're grasping at straws and coming up with whatever they can do. They're throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Why did she accept that endorsement from a member of the Heritage Foundation when she's so adamantly against Project 2025? These are questions that I have. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm a critical thinker. And when stuff just doesn't add up, I start asking questions. And that's what I have to ask in this case. Let's continue.
When Americans couldn't get their hands on COVID tests, these are the choices before the American people right now. The choice before the American people.
Americans also can't get their hand on enough financial assistance. Americans also can't get their hands on money for food and shelter. That's why we have so many people being evicted as of late during her and Biden's watch. You all do know this, right? There's record numbers of people being evicted under her and Biden's watch. Okay? In my opinion. So with that all being said, this lady she's just doing a poor job. I was hoping that she would do better since it's so close to election time, and maybe that she's had so many interviews to go through now that she'll get it right this last time. Hopefully, I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, but she just won't allow me to. Perplexed that she's not ready for that convo queen. Well, clearly, beloved. And she's not ready to be president either. Okay, I would take Jill Stein over her any day of the week. Jill Stein doesn't spew word salad. She answers questions directly. She lies out her plans and everything directly. She doesn't play the blame game or pointing the finger. She doesn't do any of that. But anyway, let's continue because she's almost done, I hope.
Is the choice to choose to turn the page on the division and the hate, and to bring our country together, knowing the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us, and that we can be optimistic about a new generation of leadership that is focused on what we have yet to achieve, to uplifting the American people.
If you win, it is entirely possible that the federal court cases against the former president will continue on. He is, of course, facing those felony charges. Would you consider, if you win and he's convicted, a pardon for former President Trump?
I'm not going to get into those hypotheticals. I'm focused on the next 14 days.
She knows the answer to that question is likely no. So why can't she just say it? But let me just tell you all something real quick. I almost forgot to mention this to you guys. Did you all hear what Nathan Wade said the other day about the Biden administration? Hold on. Let me just pull this up. Because I found this all very interesting. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. And while I'm pulling this up, you guys, let me just have you listen to a word from my sponsor, okay, at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so with that all being said, don't forget you can purchase your 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Kratz. You can also find it at Walmart.com. Now listen, because after this, you guys, I want you to hear what Fonnie Willis's boo thing, Mr. Nathan Wade, special prosecutor, what his testimony before the House Judiciary Committee was. And it will shock you. If you have not heard it, it will shock you. Okay? I want you to pay attention to what this man says. This is all getting real nefarious real quick is all I'm saying. But let's continue.
But do you believe, is there any part of you that subscribes to the argument that has been made in the past that a pardon could help bring America together, could help unify the country and move on?
Let me tell you what's going to help us move on. I get elected president of the United States.
One of the things you've talked about is having a Republican in your cabinet potentially.
Yes.
You've spent a lot of time on the campaign trail with former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, as you referenced. Is she somebody who you would consider putting in the cabinet? Have you talked with her about this topic?
I'll keep you posted.
Okay. On immigration, because this is another issue that's really important to Americans here.
Sure.
Immigrations and customs enforcement, of course. Back in 2019, you stopped short of calling to abolish ICE, as some Democrats were doing at the time. But you also said
I've never called for
correct.
abolishing
You
ICE.
stopped short of that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You said
Yeah.
we should critically re-examine it, and you considered starting from scratch. Would you consider, if you're president, starting from scratch with ICE?
Let me tell you what the Customs and Border Patrol agents need, what the immigration system needs. It needs to be fixed. And it needs to be fixed in a number of ways that include bringing forth a bill that conservative members of Congress, along with others, pulled together, that we supported actively, that would put 1,500 more border agents at the border to give those folks who are working around the clock and need support the assistance they need to get their job done. What we would do with that bill, if it were brought forward, is be able to continue to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is ravaging communities around our country. It would give us the more resources to do what we need to do to prosecute transnational criminal organizations, something I have done. But what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got word of it and told his friends in Congress, kill the bill, don't bring it forward, because Donald Trump would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And again, in this election, there are two very different choices. One that is focused on solutions and the other that is focused on constant grievance and running on problems with no agenda for fixing them. And in fact, on this issue of immigration, he has been an obstacle to fixing this problem. My proposal includes strengthening what we must do to ensure that we have an orderly and humane immigration system and that we fix what has been broken for a long time. It has transcended administrations and it needs to be fixed.
You have made it clear that you believe this is a binary choice between you and Donald Trump. Those are the candidates on the ballot.
There's only
of course.
two choices.
Yes. And I know that Joe Biden is not on the ballot. I understand that. But the reason that you are at the top of the ticket is because he dropped out of this race. And so I want to ask you, and it was largely because of that debate performance back in June. You defended him in the days before and in the days after as you were campaigning for another 4 years for President Biden. Can you say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again, repeatedly in that time?
Were you recently injured in a car accident? Look at this check for $160,000.
Of course.
Now let's hear how she answers this. Because if she says that she was honest about Joe Biden's mental clarity and whatnot, if she says that she was honest about it, then the question becomes, then why the hell are you running and not him? I want you all to pay attention. If she says that she was being perfectly honest about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities prior to, then the question becomes, why is she now running in his place? Okay? So let's hear how she answers this, because I'm all ears.
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every.
Okay, lady. The lady asked the question, were you honest about what you said about Joe Biden previously? The answer is either yes or no. Okay? The answer is either yes or no. Damn it, Kabami, come on. I'm trying to give you grace here. Y'all first and me said, look at her face. Support the arts. I'm trying to help your girl, but she's not a smart liar, according to old school Moni Love. Okay, Edward says she's stumbling and bumbling. Okay, Claudette said, good luck with that. I absolutely cannot. Luna said, this is a joke. Let's continue.
Every way that anyone would want if they're president.
And you never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates. He is absolutely.
But that's the reason why you're here, and he's not running for the top of the ticket.
Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why.
What do you think?
I am running for president of the United States.
Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you that was going to be the question? Didn't I tell you that was going to be the next question? Kabami, please. What are you doing to yourself? What are you doing to yourself, lady? See, I'm going to tell y'all right now, she should have hired me as her publicist. Honey, I would have had her on track. Okay, if I was Kabami's publicist, all of you guys would be voting for her. But alas, she's doing a terrible job, okay? Okay, Claudia says she's a deceiver. Claudette's confused. RG Titan says, oh, Lord. Old School Money Love says she's trying. So Sheezy One said Kabami is confounded. Okay, Red White Entertainment says facts, Queen. Okay. SIM said the neck is doing a lot of necking, allegedly. Oh my goodness. Support the Arts said, I wish you were. You're good. Thank you, beloved. I'm serious. She's making things bad for herself because she's not answering the questions directly. That's all she would have to do. That's all she would have to do. You know how she could have answered that question about Joe Biden, whether she told the truth about him? She could have said, listen, I'm no doctor, so I didn't give him a cognitive test, but as far as I could see, I thought he was doing well. I thought he was okay. But, once the doctors took a look and he did the testing, then they decided and determined that he was not where he should be. And so that's why now I'm running. You see how easy that is to come up with? And I'm not even in politics. Okay, I'm not even in politics. Samba said, Queen, she needs you. Too late for that now. She's already ruined it for herself. Okay, I mean, I don't know how her publicist, her campaign manager, her entire staff and team is not telling her these things. TC Dan said, I don't think she's too good at interviews. No, she isn't. And that's where she needs a lot of help at. And they keep throwing her out here to give more and more interviews, but it's the same old same. Brand Slayer TV said she's incompetent. I think she really needed a lot of coaching, and there's no one giving it to her. That Crazy Beach Area said Queen would have had us laughing. Yeah, I would have had you laughing. I would have had you all would have been feeling the joy that she's spoken about, because I would have told her never to mention Trump or mention him as less as possible. Keep the focus on you. Let's not distract, gaslight, or deflect. Let's talk about policy, what you're going to do. Let America get to know you, who you are, and don't keep repeating the same talking points over and over and over. Juju B said Queen knew the question before we even asked it. Yes. Okay. Thank you, beloved. Samba said she's terrible at interviews. Clearly, beloved, but let's continue. We're almost done.
Joe Biden is not. And my presidency will be about bringing a new generation of leadership to America that is focused on the work that we need to do to invest in the ambitions and aspirations of the American people.
It's a judgment question. That's why I ask. Can the American people trust you in these moments, even when it's maybe uncomfortable for Americans to level with Americans in that way? So that's why I ask. And it sounds like what you're saying is you feel like you never saw anything like that from President Biden.
I have worked with Joe Biden, hours and hours and hours over these 4 years, whether it be in the Situation Room or the Oval Office. Joe Biden is the one who was able to bring NATO together during a crisis where for the first time in 70 years, Europe saw and has seen war. Joe Biden has done the work that has been about being a leader on what we have done to fix so much.
Lord, she still isn't answering the damn question. TC Dan says, did I see yesterday when Tim Walz was clowning Elon Musk? Yeah, I believe I have that queued up for you guys to watch, beloved. After this interview, I'm going to show you all some more videos and stuff about all of this nonsense. And that's what a lot of it is. It's nonsense. But I'm going to show you absolutely. I think I have that. I absolutely do have that. Where Tim Walz is talking about Elon Musk, whom I also can't stand, in case you missed it. Okay. DJ Big Six says she's a part of the old regime. Yes. And then that's what I was wondering, Sierra. Sierra said, a new generation, you're 60. I mean, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, did I miss something? When she's talking about a new generation of leaders, girl, what are you talking about? You're 60 years old. But let's continue.
Much of what has been broken in terms of the economy because of Donald Trump's mismanagement. I speak with not only sincerity, but with a real firsthand account of watching.
Okay. Donald Trump's failure at the economy. But you and Biden have been in the office 4 years now. It's time for a whole nother election, and you're still blaming Trump for the failed economy? Is that what you're trying to say? But Trump's economy was markedly better than hers and Biden's. See, this is what I want you all to pay attention to, okay? This is what I want you all to pay attention to. She's using a Jedi mind trick. She's using a Jedi mind trick, and I'm going to tell you how she's doing this. Because you all may not know this, but do you all know, or can you believe? One's in the chat if you can believe this, two's if you cannot. There's literally some people who did not even know that this woman was the VP until she started running for president right now. There's literally people who didn't know that. Can you all believe it? One's in the chat, two's if you can't. Once in the chat, if you can believe that. There's literally there's a video where somebody literally said they didn't even know this woman was the VP. They've never seen her. They said until they found out she was running and replacing Biden. They didn't even know she was the VP. So with that all being said, a lot of you are putting ones. Okay. Mr. Elevation said, because she didn't talk. Right. Where was she? She was hidden from us most of the time. We didn't see her at the border. We didn't see her out there doing videos or interviews or whatever. We really just didn't see her. So unless you're someone like us in my chat and myself, we're into politics. We pay attention to things. You know, if you're a person who works a lot and you're just not always there to see all this stuff or whatever, you may not have known who she was. And so what she's doing now is she's using that to her advantage because she knows this. She's seen those videos where people said they didn't even know she was the VP. So with that all being said, now what she's done, in my opinion, has gotten together a strategy, her and the Democrats. And they're basically saying, you know, let's just keep talking about Trump. And so then we can make it seem to some people as if Trump's the one, he's the reason for all of this BS. And I won't be held accountable for any of it. I will just keep mentioning Trump and having people to focus on what he lacked and what he didn't do. But you can't do that, beloved. It's not going to work for those of us who have common sense because we already know that Biden and you have made this mess. Corey says, Dr. Shakur, remember she didn't go to work when she was with Willie Brown and still got paid? Yes. Thank you for reminding me. You're absolutely right. And she was getting 2 checks. She was on their payroll twice. Okay. When she was working for Willie Brown. She was supposedly on the payroll twice, according to reports, and those people said she mostly didn't show up for work. She mostly wasn't there, but was still getting a check. And also, many of those cases, when she was prosecutor, she didn't even prosecute. And let us not forget that out of 164 pieces of legislature that went across her desk when she was in the Senate, she didn't get any of them signed into law. I'm sorry, but that should clearly speak volumes. Because if I was in the Senate, okay, if I were a state representative, I'm quite sure I could get some things passed a whole lot quicker than she did. Because she didn't get any. She didn't get any. What's going on here, Kabami? I have questions. That Crazy Beach Eric said, I remember you reporting that, Queen. Yes. Honey, I'm sorry, but after this, I think I'm running in the next election, honey. I'm running for mayor or something at this point because clearly this is all nefarious. And I do have a PhD in public administration, so I absolutely could run for office as far as I'm concerned. But let's continue.
Him do this work. I have no reluctance in saying that. No, of course I don't.
Madam Vice President, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being
Thank
with
you.
us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
Okay, well, there's that. Okay, but now for the grand finale. Well, it's not really the grand finale, but let's talk about what Nathan Wade. Let's see what Nathan Wade had to say when he testified before the House Judiciary Committee. Now, this is going to shock some of you guys. And I really think this is going to shock some of you guys. Okay? Jayla said, yes, Queen, run. Okay? Lewis said, we need you, Queen. TC Dan said, Representative, school board, honey, I don't know. I'm going to either run for Congress or president, one of the two. Okay, I mean, I absolutely could do it. I'm confident I could do it. Now let's get into this. Okay, Denise said, Queen 2028, draining the nefarious swamp. Okay. At the end of the day, Corey said another interview flop. Now listen to this. Listen to this, because I found this to be absolutely nefarious. This is what Nathan Wade said before the House Judiciary Committee.
Know who is leading a state investigation into Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. Pete Skandalakis, executive director of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, is now leading that investigation.
It wasn't even certain that he was going to be investigated. Jones was one of 16 Republicans who acted as alleged so-called fake electors for former President Donald Trump here in Georgia, but a judge had disqualified Fulton County DA Fani Willis from building a case against him, citing a conflict of interest because she had held a fundraiser for one of his opponents vying for the seat. Again, the news today is that Jones, who is the lieutenant governor, will be investigated for his role.
Tonight, the future of former President Trump's federal classified documents trial will be decided right here in Atlanta. Just days after the case was dismissed, there is now an appeal. Atlanta News First Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe joins us live here in studio. Now, the special counsel in charge of prosecuting that case now fighting back, Brendan.
Yeah, that's right, Tracy. A federal judge in Florida dismissed that Mar-a-Lago documents case with a novel ruling that special counsels have to be confirmed and funded by Congress. If the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals here in Atlanta decides that judge was wrong, the indictments against Trump would be reinstated. The former president was accused of keeping top secret documents at Mar-a-Lago, hiding them from federal agents and refusing to return them to the federal government when asked. Judge Eileen Cannon dismissed those indictments, saying the special counsel was never confirmed by Congress, making Jack Smith's appointment unconstitutional. Smith has filed notice of appeal to the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals here in Atlanta. A 3-judge panel will hear that appeal here in Atlanta, and whoever loses can appeal to the full 11th Circuit, then the U.S. Supreme Court.
Hold on, beloveds. Now, they're saying that if Trump is elected president again, he can order the Department of Justice to drop the entire case. Okay, but now let's go to Nathan Wade. I put up the wrong clip because I meant to put up this one when they talk about what Nathan Wade, in fact, said. Here we go.
Nathan Wade told Congress Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis began outreach for a Trump-related search committee prior to her taking office on January 1st, 2021, according to the transcript of the deposition conducted by the House Judiciary Committee. Wade also testified that when the search committees began its work, the members were searching for someone who did not have an axe to grind against Trump and eventually urged Wade to accept a role as lead prosecutor in the Trump case. Wade was forced to resign from the Trump case after the former president and several of his co-defendants uncovered an undisclosed romantic relationship between Wade and Willis. The House Judiciary Committee also grilled Wade about the meetings he had with counsel in President Joe Biden's White House and with people associated with the disbanded January 6th committee. The meetings were uncovered in court filings this year, but Wade still has not disclosed details about them.
Okay, so now did you all hear that? Did you all hear that? So basically, Nathan Wade said that he and Fani Willis, they actually met with Biden's administration before she even took on the task of going against Trump. Now, here's why that's important. Here's why that's important. So they met with the Biden administration about an investigation being conducted on Trump about this whole thing, right? But isn't that why Trump got impeached one of the times that he got impeached? Because they impeached him twice, if I'm not mistaken. So isn't that why Trump got impeached one of those times? Is because they said that he was, in fact, investigating Biden, investigating his political opponent. Isn't that what they said? I'm sorry, did I miss something? Isn't that what they said? They said that Trump was investigating Biden. So it's okay for them to investigate him. It's okay for Fani Willis and Nathan Wade to be meeting behind closed doors with the Biden administration. This is problematic. I want y'all to pay attention. But if you thought that was something, wait till you hear this, because this Israeli literally threatened U.S. politicians. And I've not heard Biden or Kabami come out and address this because I think they should be saying something, but they send a lot of money over there. So are they going to say anything? And by the fact that they send all this money over there, why does this man feel comfortable threatening U.S. politicians? And then he tried to clean it up towards the end when the guy from Young Turks questioned him about it, pressed him about the issue, but he clearly was making a threat. And I want you all to pay attention because if he's bold enough to come out and publicly make a threat against U.S. politicians, that speaks volumes. Because does he too, or does he have dirt on them? Because I believe that President Zelensky from Ukraine, I think that he has something on them, and that's why they're getting all this money. Now, I could be wrong. This is just an opinion. But I wonder why this man felt that he could just come out and say this. So let's go to the clip. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Some of you may have already seen this because I shared it on X yesterday.
Program is going.
Let me put up an overlay. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance, beloveds. Okay, there we go.
Iranian nuclear program is going to be destroyed. And anyone who gets in the way, it doesn't matter where they are, even if they are politicians in the West, they are going to fall because we cannot afford.
Hold on. Did you hear what he just said? He threatened politicians in the West that if they don't agree with Israel's war against Iran, that they're going to fall. And remember, he's an Israeli agent. Are you saying Israel will murder politicians in the West or get rid of them politically through bribery or whatever else? What do you mean the politicians in the West will fall if they don't agree to back Israel's war against Iran?
Yeah, we will not vote for them anymore.
Oh, no, well, you don't vote for them now. You're not in our country. What do you mean the politicians will fall?
We live in democracy, and we have the right to bring them up and to bring them down. Those who agree with Ayatollah, we don't want them in office. And all the sympathizers with terrorists like yourself, we don't want them even to be in our country.
Who is we, and how are you bringing down politicians in the West if they dare to defy Israel? Tell me how you're bringing them down.
I already answered you that.
Are you going to murder them, or are you going to bribe them? Are you going to bribe someone else? Who are you going to do?
Okay, y'all need to be paying attention, honey, because it's the boldness of it all for me. What do you think he meant when he said they're going to fall if they don't do what they want? What do you all think he was talking about? That sounded like a whole threat. And then he laughed and said, we're not going to vote for them. He knows he doesn't vote in these elections anyway. He was clearly being facetious and sarcastic, right? But what is he saying? I think we can all read between those lines. And he was hostile when he said it. He's basically putting them on notice. Okay? He's putting them on notice. That's what he was doing. Now, why does he feel emboldened to do that? Why does he feel emboldened to do that? And see, this is why we don't need Kabami in office. This is why we don't need Kabami in office. What do you think how would she handle this? Why hasn't her or Joe Biden come out and said something against this man for even saying such a thing? If the U.S. is supposed to be such a powerhouse, if the U.S. is supposed to be has such a strong military, and they're supposed to be the leaders in all of this and set the standard for the rest of the world, as Kabami said in her interview, why haven't they come out and said anything about this? Because that was a whole threat. Y'all heard him. And then when pressed, he went on to say that just as we lift them up, we can bring them down. That's what he said. I'm sorry. Say what? And Biden doesn't have a problem with this. Kamala doesn't have a problem with this. The Democrats aren't saying anything. It's crickets. What the hell's going on here? What's going on here? I'm sorry. Please make it make sense. Mr. Elevation said not the Biden administration funding terrorists. Because that's what it sounds like. They literally just made a threat to the U.S. But Biden's administration has been sending them all of this darn money. So I have questions. That's what they should have asked Kabami about in that interview. Okay? That's what they should have asked her about in that interview. This isn't good. And I also want to remind you guys that she said that Liz Cheney, the daughter of Dick Cheney, has endorsed her. And she was bragging about Dick Cheney endorsing her. Literally bragging. But you see, here's the thing. When she talks about some of these Republicans who are supporting her and they're no longer supporting Trump, these Republicans that she's named, many of them, or shall I say some of them, they're basically warmongers. Okay? These are people who like war. I'm telling y'all right now, if Kabami gets in office, don't think it's not about to be World War III. That's just my opinion. That is just my 2 cents. Okay, so anyway, since Dan wants to know about Walz and Musk, let's get into that next. This is all nefarious. Okay, so I have the video queued up. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. What's really going on here, Kabami and Biden? They can sit there and go in on Trump, but what are they going to do about this man making a whole threat on national news? Please pay attention. I have a whole lot of questions, is all I'm saying.
About his running mate. So look, I'm not going to waste all the time I'm in. I'm going to talk about his running mate. His running mate, Elon Musk. Where is Senator Vance after he got asked the simplest question in the world at the debate? Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? And after 2 weeks, he finally said, no, he didn't. That's where he's been spending his time. But that's it. So look, Elon's on that stage, jumping around, skipping like a dipshit on these things. You know it. Think about it. Think about that. That guy is literally the richest man in the world, spending millions of dollars to help Donald Trump buy an election. Now look, they're saying the quiet parts out loud now because Donald Trump has already promised that he would put Elon in charge of government regulations that oversee the businesses that Elon runs. That's a hell of a buy. He could spend billions to make more than 10 billion on the back end. So in other words, Donald Trump, in front of the eyes of the American public, is promising corruption.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's a bad move if Trump actually is planning on doing that because Elon Musk needs to sit all the way down somewhere. I definitely don't agree with that. But here's what I also don't agree with. Since we're talking about Elon Musk and calling him Donald Trump's running mate, you know what I find interesting? Is the fact that Biden's administration has allowed Bill Gates. They've allowed Bill Gates to do what he wants as it pertains to giving people venom. Why is he even involved in it? He doesn't have a medical degree. He's not a biologist, a virologist, an epidemiologist. He's not a chemist. Why is he involved in any of this? Bill Gates. Okay? I have questions. At the end of the day, the thing is this. No matter how they point the fingers of blame and shame at Trump, they're equally nefarious. They're equally nefarious, in my opinion. Okay? Now, Bill Gates purchased over 286,000 acres of land on U.S. soil. There's been talk about putting the venom in people's food, in lettuce, spinach, whatnot, tomatoes, allegedly. So I just have a whole lot of questions. Why have they allowed a person who does not have a medical degree to go around talking about what people need to do as it pertains to their bodies and going around and having so much of a say-so? He should not be involved in any of the conversations pertaining to anyone's health, anyone getting the venom. Bill Gates should not have anything to do with that conversation or discussion period whatsoever, ever. Okay? Mr. Elevation said, I find it all suspicious, and I do too. So while I agree with him about Elon Musk, whom I can't stand, let me just say that again, I also don't like Bill Gates. And I think that he's a eugenicist, just like his father was, just like his father's friend Margaret Sanger was, who was a good friend of Hillary Clinton's, or I'm sorry, not a good friend, but Hillary Clinton idolizes this woman. They may have been friends, I don't know, but Hillary Clinton clearly has let it be known that she idolizes this woman, who's a whole eugenicist. Okay? Bill Gates. What has he said about the population? I don't have to repeat it. You guys already know. So at the end of the day, let's not throw stones when we live in glass houses, in the words of Kabami herself.
That's what he's promising you. And you know what? I don't believe he keeps many promises, but he'll keep that one. I'll guarantee you he'll keep that one.
And which one will you keep, Touchdown Timmy? Which one will you keep? Because now someone talked about the allegations against him. Yes, I've heard about those. But now the Democrats are saying, don't worry about all that because that's just Russian disinformation. Please pay attention. None of it's true. It's all lies and BS. They're just making stuff up. They're just grasping at straws. That's what they're saying. But I find it interesting because if those same things were said, those same allegations were brought against Trump, would they in fact say that it was Russian disinformation? I seriously doubt it. Okay, but let's listen to it. Let's listen to it. Likes up, beloveds, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Let me get this started. Hold on.
But this is what people wanted. Pregnant women suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. The freedom to make decisions about one's own body should not be made by the government.
Meta released a threat report Thursday.
Now, let me say this quickly. I do agree with her on that. Okay, the government should have nothing to say about people's own bodies, and that includes forcing them, mandating them to take venom specifically. But let's continue.
Detailing some of the trends used by Russia and other U.S. adversaries to spread online misinformation and disinformation on social media. One of the key threats detailed in the report is the use of generative artificial intelligence, or Gen AI, to create images, videos, or other content and pass them off as real. The report mentions a Russian campaign that pushed news stories using AI tools to make them appear unique and mimic real news organizations. That's a problem. The AI stories were critical of President Biden for providing aid to Ukraine. Last week, former President Donald Trump used the real threat of AI to push a false narrative about his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris.
He wrongly claimed this image that you see right there of the crowd at one of her rallies was created using AI. Our CBS News confirmed team verified the image did not use AI, and the crowd at the rally was in fact real. Well, Darren Linville joins me now. He is the co-director of the Media Forensics Hub at Clemson University. Thank you so much for joining us. So how influential can AI-generated political misinformation, disinformation be to voters, and how it shapes their opinions and ultimately how they might actually vote?
Well, I think that, in this day and age, we're still learning the answer to that question. I think right now we're in the early days of understanding the effects of AI, and really bad actors are mostly using artificial intelligence to make their operations more efficient, to ramp up their operations, and much like the rest of us use AI for, to do a job faster and quicker.
So even though we're still trying to understand what this looks like at this particular time in our culture, what about what we saw in Trump's case with the crowd image? He claimed his political opponent used AI to fabricate enthusiasm about her campaign, but she didn't. It was real. So how could that false claim have an impact on people who see it as such, as real?
Yeah, I've been studying disinformation for a long time now, Jerika, and I get this question out a lot, which is, what is the real effect of disinformation? And I think that in this case, we really see what is usually my answer to the question in effect, which is disinformation causes us to doubt reality. And it can cause us to even doubt something that's so obviously true. We've seen bad actors around the world use this to great effect in the past. Putin uses what researchers call the fire hose of falsehood, which is he just tells so many lies that we don't know what the truth is anymore. And so we have a tendency to doubt anything we might see. Certainly the Russian people do. And I think that we see that here with Trump's audience.
I want to talk about some of those AI-generated images or audio like we saw earlier this year with a fake Biden phone call or any other content that we see online. Do you have any tips for people as to how they can determine if something is real versus an AI-generated image or content that is fake?
Yeah, I think that one of the most common effects that we currently have regarding AI is that it has a tendency to reinforce beliefs. If you aren't someone who wants to believe that an AI-generated image is true, you're gonna have a little bit more doubt. You're gonna look at that image a little more skeptically. Maybe you're more likely to go and check other sources to see if it's real. But if you're someone who wants to believe that what you're hearing is true, you're liable to believe it. And that is a really difficult hurdle to overcome. So I tend to tell people that we need, in the digital world, we need to engage in it in the same way we do the real world.
Right. You have to be a conscious consumer, essentially, right?
Right. With just a little bit of doubt. People have a tendency to go online and turn their brain off. And and turn all the usual doubts that we have in the real world when we see something that might be fraud or something that might be false. We don't have that same skepticism in the digital world.
Well, they could just rely on CBS News, okay? So you could just watch us.
Absolutely.
We do our best to make sure that what we're bringing you is the real deal. I actually had an incident with a fake AI-generated thing that said that I was selling a waist trainer. There it is, by Sculpt Torch, I think, or Touch, Sculpt Touch. I do not support that. So I had friends asking me, did you really sell this? Absolutely not. So
I think this points to what's almost a bigger problem than AI, and that's the shallow fake.
Yeah.
That's not an AI-generated picture of you. That's the real you, just used in a different context. And that's just
Very
as big of a problem as any AI image.
All right, Darren Linville, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, so with that all being said, I just find it interesting. So they didn't say anything about Tim, but we'll continue. We'll get into that momentarily. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Let's go to hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Let's go to Hillary's surprise. Okay. Likes up, everyone, please like and share.
More and more chatter about some kind of spooky October surprise. They're like, just wait, we got something else up our sleeves. I mean, come on, really? I mean, we've already been through 2, sadly, assassination attempts. We've been through them changing their candidate. And now they're saying, hey, just wait for it. There's more, ladies and gentlemen. Dun, dun, dun. Here's Hillary promising that.
Question, you liken yourself to Cassandra, the Greek mythological figure who could see the future and the prophecies, but was never believed. Putting that Cassandra hat on for the moment, but we're listening. What is something you see happening in the near future that we should be taking more seriously?
Well, I do think that the press needs a consistent the press that's not supporting Trump. Blatant.
I'm just going to pause it for a second because you see what she's saying. The press needs a consistent narrative. How dare you, those press members that are not supporting my candidate, my side, Kamala Harris and Timmy Walz, how dare you?
Very persistently. The press that's trying to be the press, be objective, be, reporting the facts. The press needs a consistent narrative about the danger that Trump poses, because people may still look at the danger and say, I don't care, it doesn't affect me, I'm going to vote for him for X, Y, or Z. But okay, but at least people need to be woken up and given the facts about what he has done, is saying, and would do. And
again, have we not heard that over and over and over and over again from the media? How scary it is, how this is like the beginnings of World War II all over again. My gosh, I mean, it's all we hear, but apparently it's not enough.
Anticipate that, something will happen in October, as it always does. The Russians, as I said earlier, are very active in this election. We know the Iranians are active as well. Chinese uses TikTok, or they certainly did against Biden and for Trump. I think they're a little less pro Trump right now. So you look at where people get their information, and they get their information largely from social media. And so the campaign is doing the best job it can to combat both domestic and foreign false disinformation. But I anticipate there will be a full court press in October. The digital airwaves will be filled. And why does that matter? Because the press that is pro-Trump anyway, oftentimes stories are put on digitally that then are picked up by, let's say, at Fox and others. And then those stories are stories, so the mainstream press reports on them. And so that story then takes on a life of its own. There will be concerted efforts to distort and pervert Kamala Harris, who she is, what she stands for, what she's done. I mean, look, the crazy story about me running a child trafficking operation.
Okay, all right, Hillary. So you get the idea here. You get the idea. Look, I'm not going to dispute that there's misinformation, disinformation out there, but let's be very clear with each other. It's on both sides. I mean that. It's on both sides. What do you think the whole dossier that Hillary Clinton put out was, other than misinformation, disinformation? Paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign. You had 51X spooks.
Okay, so I want you all to pay attention to how Hillary predicted that there's going to be something that perverts. She literally used the word pervert. She could have said something that disparages. She could have said something that tries to shame or blame, but she used the word perverts. How did she know there would be something that would pervert? Well, remember those allegations that I told you all about that I'm not going to get into on here specifically in detail simply because of ScrewTube? But remember, the things that I told you were alleged about Tim Walz. You can find it on Twitter or X. You can find it on there. But they're saying that's Russian disinformation, that none of it's true. Okay? And maybe none of it is true. But I will say this. The young man by the name of Ethan Carroll, he's not Russian disinformation. He's a real life person. We've seen him. I've seen him. At the end of the day, I follow him on TikTok. Mr. Ethan Carroll has come out and said that he spoke to a supposed whistleblower who was blowing the whistle and ringing the alarm about Mr. Tim Walz, aka Touchdown Timmy, aka Tampon Tim. So I'm just wondering what's really going on here. What's really going on here? And when Hillary said there was going to be something to pervert Kobami's campaign, was she, in fact, making an accurate prediction because she's maybe psychic, perhaps? Or was that her way of getting ahead of the story? Okay? You know, I mean, there is a possibility that Russia is putting out disinformation. Okay? There's a possibility, but aren't there also other possibilities, is all I'm saying. So let me share my screen. Lights up, everyone, please like and share. Let me put something over this because I don't want any problems. I'm going to put Kobami up again. Please pay attention.
Was saying she never worked at McDonald's. She never. Right. So now he took himself to McDonald's. That was McDonald's that was closed, and he wasn't wearing a hairnet, which really bothered me. Yeah. But here's the thing I really want you to see. Here she is. She is marching with protesting and striking McDonald's employees in Las Vegas because the workers were calling for a $15 minimum wage and better working conditions. No net? Really? I don't want your French fries.
So Kamala was out there in Las Vegas with the protesters about minimum wage. Now, I played you all the video the other day where, in fact, Trump himself seemed to skirt around the issue. He seemed to skirt around the issue when they did, in fact, while he was at McDonald's working the drive-thru, the reporters asked him, would he raise minimum wage? He skirted around the question like he didn't want to answer it, just like Kobami's been known to do about certain things that she, too, doesn't want to answer. So the question becomes, is Trump, in fact, going to raise minimum wage? I don't think that he is. I don't think that he is, but it absolutely should be raised. Okay, it absolutely should be raised as far as I'm concerned. Now, Kobami, on the other hand, says that she's for the people and she wants them to be able to feed their families and all of that. So is she going to raise minimum wage? Well, again, I think the answer is no. Again, I think the answer is no. The minimum wage should be at least $15. Okay, in my opinion, it should be at least $15. But I don't think that either one of them are going to raise it. I don't think Trump's going to raise it because he skirted around the question, didn't come out and directly answer with a yes or no. It's so simple. You know, he just talked all around. Oh, I think these people work hard. These people do this. These people do that. Trump, are you going to raise the minimum wage or not? Inquiry minds want to know. But I equally do not think that Kamala is going to raise it either for the simple fact that she has not done so as of yet. Her and Biden's administration, she said herself, not me, she said herself that she's been a part of every major decision. So why haven't her and Biden raised the minimum wage? She said herself that groceries are too darn high. If they raised minimum wage, maybe people would be able to afford more groceries and wouldn't be in such a bind. But she hasn't done that thus far. Neither has Biden, nor has she apparently told or asked him to or suggested it to him. Because again, she said that she was a part of every major decision. So I just have questions. But with that all being said, let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump and the Department of Education, because here's something that Trump said, and I want you all to hear this. This is just a brief clip, but in my opinion, Trump needs to sit down somewhere with this. This is what he needs to do. He needs to sit all the way down somewhere. Likes up, everyone, please like and share.
It's not anything to do with school choice, but also separate from school choice. We're going to take the Department of Education, close it. I'm going to close it. We'll have one person, could be you if you decide to retire.
Okay, Mr. President, here's what bothers
central cast.
here's what bothers me about that. So let's say you have a liberal city, let's Los Angeles, San Diego, and they just decide we're going to get rid of that history. We got new history. This is America built off the backs of slaves on stolen land. And that curriculum comes in.
Then we don't send them money. We would save half of our budget.
Okay.
Now, did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear what Trump just said? He said we don't send them money. So essentially what Trump is saying, see, this is why I can't rock with him or Kabami, because Trump is essentially saying that if these schools aren't teaching what they want them to teach, and by they, I mean him and the rest of the Republicans, if they're not teaching what they want them to teach, then they're not going to send them any money. Now, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. Okay? So they're not going to send money to these schools. They're not going to fund them and help them if they're teaching things to which they don't want them to be taught. Okay? Once again, it sounds like they're trying to hide history, okay, at the end of the day. And it's really interesting because Trump's the same one who stood up on stage and said that African Americans built this country. And then he said, well, all of us did, but they did a significant job or whatever, however he phrased it. I'm paraphrasing. But he said that African Americans built this country. So now he wants to say that if these schools aren't teaching what he wants them to teach, then they're not going to get any money. Okay, yeah, well, that's bullshit. Okay, that's absolute bullshit. Now, with that all been said, let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. 2 weeks or so left, beloveds. Clock's ticking.
You know where Kamala is today? They don't want to tell you. No. You don't know where she is? You know where she is? She's sleeping. She took a day off. Think of this. We have 14 days to the most important election in the history of our country. It's actually only important for us. It's important. For them, I don't think it's that important. I really don't think it's that important. But you know what she did? She took a day off. How do you take a day off? 14 days, you don't take days off, right?
Last election, the former president came out on election night and declared victory before all the votes were counted. What is your plan if he does?
Let me say this. Love Her says he also said the Indians on those reservations aren't the real Indians. He said that in the 90s. I heard him say that. He said they don't look like real natives to him, and they don't look like real natives to real natives. Now, at the end of the day, who are the real natives? Who are the people that are indigenous to this land? Because the last I checked, the people who are indigenous to this land are the people who look like me. But they would have you fooled into thinking that everybody came here from Africa, but in fact, some of us were already here. Okay? Let's not forget they have copper-colored Indians, which are people who look like me. All right? So maybe those didn't look like Indians to him. I was never offended when he said that because those are not, see, here's the thing. Those are not my people, and those group of people do not ever come to our defense. They never come to our defense. Okay? They never stand up with us. You never see them out there protesting when one of us loses our lives to police violence or anything else. They never say anything to us. Okay, so I'm not going to vouch for them. I'm not going to cape for them. But what I will say is there are some people who paid $5 to be added to the dogs list so that they could be identified as Native Americans. And they're, in fact, not Native Americans. So let's not forget that what's the lady's name that was running that time? What is her name? And Trump used to clown her and call her Pocahontas. Y'all know who I'm talking about. What's that lady's name? It escapes me for some reason. Marianne Warren. Isn't that her? Said she's an Indian. She said she's a native. She doesn't look like a native. How much native blood does she have? Was her ancestors possibly one of the $5 Indians? I would venture to guess. The answer would be yes, in my opinion. But you know, people who look like me, we're native to this land. Okay? We're native. Elizabeth Warren. I said Marianne Warren, getting her mixed up with Marianne Williamson. Yes. Thank you, beloved. Thank you, Truth Over Everything, for the correction. Elizabeth Warren. Trump would call her Pocahontas because he didn't believe she's native. I don't believe she's native. She doesn't look like the real natives. The real natives don't look like her. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And Trump also knows that some people paid those $5. Okay. So please pay attention. But let's continue. Let's continue.
Does that again in 2 weeks?
Well, let me say this. We've got 2 weeks to go. And I'm very much grounded in the present in terms of the task at hand. And we will deal with election night and the days after as they come. And we have the resources and the expertise and the focus on that as well.
So you have teams ready to go? Is that what you're saying? Are you thinking about that as a possibility?
Of course. This is a person, Donald Trump, in fair election, who still
minutes he stood next to the deep fryer, I'll guarantee you that's the hardest that guy's ever worked in his life.
We are ready for a President Kamala Harris, somebody who's raised in a middle-class family, who actually worked at McDonald's.
Now, let me just call Barry on out. Because, Barry, you want to talk about middle-class families. First of all, there is no longer a middle class. There's the rich and the poor at the end of the day. Okay? There is the rich and the poor. There's no longer a middle class. So why do they keep talking about it? And also, even if there were still a middle class, the bottom line is they don't talk about the poor people who are also hardworking, but they're still poor. Because, for one, they won't raise minimum wage. Trump or the Biden administration. They won't raise minimum wage. So with that all being said, the next thing is this. Barry Obama needs to sit down somewhere talking about who grew up where, because I'm sorry, didn't he grow up wealthy? Did he ever work at McDonald's? I'm sure he didn't. Okay, I'm sure he didn't. So at the end of the day, wasn't his stepfather wealthy? Didn't he go to those rich, fancy schools over there in Hawaii? Didn't he go to Harvard? I'm just saying, Obama, please don't sit here and do this, okay? Please just sit down somewhere and be quiet at this point.
We know this election is going to be tight. It's going to be tight because a lot of Americans are still struggling. You know, as a country, we've been through a lot. So I understand why folks are looking to shake things up. I get it.
He says folks are looking to shake things up. Okay? He says folks are looking to shake things up. I want you all to pay attention. Yeah, they're trying to shake things up, all right. At the end of the day, why do they need to shake things up? Clearly because of the failed Biden administration. Now, no one can honestly say that Biden's administration did a good job. No one can honestly say that. You can say it, but you won't be being honest. Okay, these are the people who caused many people, in my opinion, to lose their jobs due to their own nefariousness and forcing things on people to which they did not want. But let's continue.
What I cannot understand is why anybody would think that Donald Trump will shake things up in a way that's good for you. That I do not understand. Because there is absolutely no evidence that this man thinks about anybody but himself. My favorite is the Trump Bible. True story. True story. I mean, it's embossed with his name right on it. Donald Trump edition, right next to Matthew and Luke. Donald. And I'll give you one guess where those Bibles are made. He's Mr. Tough Guy on China, except when it comes to making a few bucks. You cannot make this stuff up.
And I think he's a real jerk because I've watched him campaign over the last couple of days. I watched him campaign. What a divider he is, right? What a divider he is. If he'd divide this country, he couldn't care less. Him and his little group of people, he was terrible. But I've watched what he's done. He's trying to campaign because she's incapable of campaigning. So they send him in to try. He's not going to do it.
The rest of the world is scared to death of what's going to happen if he gets elected. Not a joke. Not a joke. Every one of these international meetings I attend, I get pulled aside as I walk out and say, you got to win. You got to win. My democracy is at stake, meaning their democracy.
Shirley Miles said they talk about each other more than they talk about policy. Exactly. I told you all weeks ago I was so tired of it. Okay. But let's go to one more clip of Obama, because I think in this clip he talks about Trump and McDonald's.
We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
Sorry, he's saying the same thing. Okay, so let me go to the next clip. Now, here's what I want you all to pay attention to. Okay, so Trump's going to talk about overtime. He's going to talk about overtime. And then I want to put up a clip of what a black man had to say about it, his thoughts on it. Lights up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Today, I'm also announcing that as part of our additional tax cuts, we will end all taxes on overtime. You know what that means? Think of that. Think of that. Think of that. That gives people more of an incentive to work. It gives the companies it's a lot easier to get the people. And, you know, I went to some economists, great ones, and I said, what do you think? They said, it would be unbelievable. You'll get a whole new workforce by doing that. No taxes on overtime. The people who work overtime are among the hardest working citizens in our country. And for too long, no one in Washington has been looking out for them. Those are the people that really work. They're police officers, nurses, factory workers, construction workers, truck drivers, and machine operators. It's time for the working man and woman to finally catch a break, and that's what we're doing, because this is a good one. And I think it's going to be great for the country. So that's why we will be saying that if you're an overtime worker, when you're past 40 hours a week, think of that. Your overtime hours will be tax-free. Okay, good. You're going to have it too.
Now, if in fact he actually implements that, that would be very good. Because the problem is people work overtime. Many people actually work overtime, but then a lot of the money that they worked so hard for is taken out of their checks in taxes. And it's almost like they worked all that overtime for nothing. So if they're going to, not tax overtime, that would be great if it's actually implemented. Okay, so now let's see what this black man had to say about it. Lights up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Here we go. I guess Trump said you all can get overtime without taxes, but you can't get minimum wage and have them both. It's one or the other. That's what it sounds like he's saying to me. I don't know, honey, but let's continue.
Donald Trump recently stated that he will cut taxes on overtime pay. Let's talk about it. So this is a recent development actually on the tax side from the Donald Trump side of things, where he mentioned that him eliminating taxes on overtime pay will incentivize people to work. Now, I will tell you this, there hasn't been any details as it relates to this plan, but from my own personal experience, I haven't always been a CPA with accounting and tax knowledge. I will tell you this, I've had jobs and overtime pay already incentivized people to work. So I guess I can kind of see it further incentivizing people to work if you're not going to pay taxes on the overtime. So I can kind of see that. But we need more details about this, how this is going to be implemented, who will it impact, you know, what are the ramifications for something like this on the government in terms of revenue. We need to hear more about this. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. Is this good or bad, or do you need to hear more information? Yeah, have a good one.
Okay, so he had some very good questions as far as I'm concerned. Now let's listen to Pastor Jamal Bryant, okay, as he talks about how these black men are misogynists.
In the context of the vice president, were you trying to send a message?
That we've got to be able to both, that misogyny is still real in our community. We've got to address it head on and not act like it doesn't exist. The reality is, if black men had voted, Stacey Abrams would be a governor. And so I think that we've got to do some real redress that after racism.
Let me stop right there. Let's not blame that on black men, honey. Let us not blame it on black men, saying that if black men had voted, Stacey Abrams would be a governor. No, I disagree. You see, the governor here in Georgia, Brian Kemp, do you all remember that big discrepancy? Okay, that was a conflict of interest. He was allowed to count some of the votes, to be in charge of the votes. Now, in my opinion, that's why Stacey Abrams didn't win. Okay, that was a whole conflict of interest. But let's let him keep talking.
The biggest ill in America is sexism. And I think it's part of the responsibility of this generation to deal with it head on.
There you go, guys. There you go. Just keep insulting.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stop that. I forgot this guy had something else to say. Hold on. Let me go back to it real quick. Likes up, everyone, please like and share.
There you go, guys. There you go. Just keep insulting us. Yeah, keep shaming us. We're going to come crawling back and vote for Kamala. Keep it up. That's a great strategy. Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, this is the thing. Black men are getting tired of them constantly criticizing them and calling them out for things that really are not their fault, in my opinion. All right? These things are just not their fault as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so now let's go to Fox speaking about the polls. Okay, here we go. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Shirley said she's getting tired. Honey, I am too.
If Kamala Harris has such great plans for how to address middle-class problems, then she ought to do them now. Not when asking for a promotion, but in the job the American people gave her 3.5 years ago. And the fact that she isn't tells you a lot about how much you can trust her actual plans. Real leadership would be saying, you know what, I screwed up. We're going to go back to Donald Trump's border policies. I wish she would do that. It would be good for all of us.
Why don't you own apartment buildings? Seriously, why don't you own these big apartment buildings? And I get it. You might be thinking right now, well, Tyler, my word, it's because I don't have millions and millions and millions of dollars sitting in a bank account. That's why.
Here's your blue wall blitz, Ms. Perino. All right.
Well.
If she takes the blue wall and that one electoral vote in Nebraska, she'll get to 270. That's why she's doing it. Milwaukee today, areas of Detroit today, and also Philadelphia in the southeast corner today, all for Kamala Harris. Put all the polls together right now, super close. This is, Pennsylvania trumps up 0.8 percentage points, right? Michigan trumps up about 1.2 percentage points. Wisconsin, it's less than 1 point between the two. Really, really close. Historically, this is something else, right? What was the old commercial? Ask Mikey because he likes it. All that stuff, right? Remember that? Okay, this is Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Going back to 1992, all three states voted for the same candidate, all three. And only one time was it a Republican, and that was Trump in 2016. Now you understand how the blue wall, tuck that sucker in there, how the blue wall got to become the blue wall, right? Here it is. This is Michigan in 2020, Biden less than 3 points, super close in Michigan. This is PA in 2020, right? Biden 1.2 points. I mean, Michigan's looking like a blowout right now. And this is Wisconsin from 2020, 0.6 points for Biden. Again, all three for three, going back to 1992, they'll vote as a block. Let's swing on over here, and we'll bring in our next guest to give us our best analysis coming our way.
I love having Kayleigh McEnany on a Monday. She's the co-host of Outnumbered, and maybe we'll just have to make you permanent Monday status here because you help us kick off the week. We know that Harris has no current plans to campaign with Biden, but I think that makes sense.
It makes total sense. Yeah. CNN said that one of her most popular moments in the debate, according to internal polling, was when she said, clearly, I am not Joe Biden. We've all seen the data. We all saw NBC last week where 25% say Biden's policies have helped them. 44% said that about Trump. The data is clear. You must separate yourself. But she's apparently very loyal. That's what they've been backgrounding to reporters. The thing is, your loyalty might cause you a cross-country trip back to California, a move back in January, if you keep that loyalty.
All right. Speaking of California, here's the governor, Gavin Newsom, about how you can't do it. She tried to tell Peter Alexander this on Friday when she was in Michigan, because she had that comment about, even Mike Pence was loyal to Donald Trump. It's hard to get a separation between the two. Here's Newsom making a point in a different way now.
She sees the world with her own set of eyes, her own unique experience, her own journey. By definition, she's a change candidate. She's a generational candidate in that respect. She's also the vice president of the United States. And I think it's an almost impossible position to be in. If she separates too much, it becomes then the new narrative where we zig and zag to that narrative and not to what she wants to focus on.
I think a lot of what he says is right.
Yes.
Do you think she's going to zig and zag successfully this?
He has a point. And look, I thought her answer to Peter Alexander was her best answer yet on the topic. It is right. She said it's not helpful to the relationship between a president and a vice president to have this separation. And then she went on to say, I'd prioritize housing and Medicare in a different way. That's a really good answer. But why didn't you do that the first time and the second time? Why has it taken this long to get to that answer, which I think is the honest one?
And I also think that in a way, if I may say, the burden is not necessarily hers, right? So Biden, when he said, this is my decision, even if it wasn't, and I'm going to do this, and he should have given her permission to say, you can distance from me. My feelings are not going to be hurt. I know you're a loyal person, but that didn't happen. But speaking of the switcheroo, apparently Nancy Pelosi is not happy. There's a new book by Jonathan Alter called American Reckoning. And she says she's not happy that the only bloody fingerprints on the knife were hers when it came to getting Biden out, and that Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and other Democratic leadership were in on it, but they didn't take any of the hits.
That's 100% correct. So when you go back and look at how this saga played out, there was a July 5th comment by Nancy Pelosi saying it's a legitimate question to ask whether Biden had an episode or a condition. Then you go to July 10th and she's out on Morning Joe and she has that famous comment where she says we're all waiting on Biden to make his decision after he had already made his decision to stay in the race. Jake Sherman says that was like a bomb that went off and gave permission for Democrats to distance themselves from Biden. Then Schiff comes out and all of this happens. And it isn't until July 18th that we get one signal that Obama's not on board via a story in the Washington Post that popped during the RNC. It was Nancy Pelosi leading the way. And she has a point. Where was Obama and Schumer? They were very late to the game.
She's not afraid.
No, she's not. And she's a queen maker.
I always thought that Obama waited a week because he didn't want to have his fingerprints on the gun. I thought that was his strategy.
Well, also
That's
they
right.
might have wanted.
I mean,
I think also they thought that perhaps having a mini primary was better than the situation they have now.
I think at the time, many of them did feel that way. I think this is still the best political story that's yet to be written.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And interestingly, that book says if they would not have floated the idea of a mini primary, a lot of Dems wouldn't have gotten on board if they would have known it was Kamala. So a lot of interesting drama.
Yeah, we'll see at noon. Early in-person voting is on in a big way in Georgia and now North Carolina. And a lot of folks are voting, so we're going to read the tea leaves by the day. See you at noon.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews.
Now, with that all been said, let's talk real quick. Let's talk really quick about when they said, or Pastor Jamal Bryant specifically said, that it was black men's fault that Stacey Abrams didn't become the governor. You see, here's the thing. I had to go dig up the receipts because I didn't want to misspeak. You see, because Brian Kemp, before he became governor of Georgia, he was the Secretary of State, and he had something to do with counting those votes. Do you think he counted them accurately? Well, okay. So now here's what it says. In his role, because I reported on this when all this was going on, in his role as Secretary of State, Kemp oversaw Georgia's elections, something that opponents have pointed to as an inherent conflict of interest. Absolutely. Last month, former President Jimmy Carter, a Georgian, called on Kemp to resign. Shout out to former President Jimmy Carter. Okay, 100 years old. And he's always, in my opinion, kept it real. Now, so now that he has, because former President Jimmy Carter came out and said Kemp needs to sit down somewhere. He needs to step on down because this is clearly a conflict of interest. And so now, after he did that, Kemp would not oversee a recount if there was one. Well, he wouldn't have to oversee a recount if he was counting in the first place. And you see, here's the thing. Brian Kemp did step down as Secretary of State. He did resign, but that was only after he declared victory. That was only after he deemed himself the winner. Okay? So how are they going to blame that on black men saying they didn't get out to vote? I just find it all interesting. The run up to Election Day and the battle between Abrams and Kemp was rife with controversy surrounding Kemp's oversight of his own election. Abrams and civil rights groups have accused Kemp of suppressing the vote, in which I agree because I live right here in Georgia. I saw it all go down in real time. And federal courts have ruled against some of Kemp's pre-election measures. Kemp has said that he is just trying to follow the law. Abrams, meanwhile, was seeking to become the first black woman elected governor in the U.S. So there's that. That had nothing to do with black men not voting, honey. Black men did get out and vote. Kemp was overseeing the vote. He was counting the votes, okay? He was the Secretary of State. And he didn't bother to resign until after he himself declared victory. Now, then he said, oh, well, I don't have to be a part of the recount. Yeah, I'm sure he didn't need a recount because he already knew what he had done and that he had won. Now, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Now, with that all been said, let's continue. Because before I roll out of here, and let me just mind you guys, hold on, where is it? Okay. Before I roll out of here, I just want to show you all this clip from yesterday on the backup channel. We're going to be on the backup channel, you guys. For those of you who follow the backup channel, we're going to be on there, so turn your notifications on. We're going to be on there at 2 o'clock. It's like 1:37 now. We're going to be on there at 2 o'clock. Because here's the thing. We have to talk about Daniel Penny. How many of you remember who Daniel Penny is? One's in the chat if you remember who Daniel Penny is. Daniel Penny, for those of you who don't know, is the man who choked to death a black man who was homeless on the subway. Do you all remember that? Once in the chat because I was reporting on it? Okay, this man is now on trial. How come this isn't all over the news? He's headed for trial. Okay? They've already started jury selection. Is that right? So with that all being said, we're going to talk about that on the backup channel. And they have him looking markedly different, as my dear sister Lisa Cabrera brought to my attention yesterday. So we're going to talk about that. We also got to talk about Wiz Khalifa, who's been indicted in Romania, I do believe, for smoking weed on stage. So we're going to talk about that. But anyway, let's look at this clip of what we talked about yesterday on the backup channel with Courtney Clenny. For those of you who missed it, do you remember Courtney Clenny, the blonde-haired OnlyFans model who stabbed her boyfriend, Christian Abumsale, to death? She's on trial. And what I found interesting is that they brought a pig's corpse, a pig carcass, shall I say, into the courtroom to try to prove and verify and substantiate that she actually was involved in self-defense when she plunged that knife into Christian's throat. Into his chest. Now, she said she threw the knife. If you all remember, I did a whole breakdown. I played the 911 call. I told you everything step by step when I was reporting on that. I showed you how she was often the aggressor. It looked like really she was always the aggressor, just from the elevator footage and all of that. Now she's on court and she's trying to act as though it was all self-defense. When I believe she absolutely murdered that man in cold blood during an argument because she was upset because he went to get them food at 1:00 and, according to her, didn't get home until 4. She wanted to know where he was, what took him so long to get there, and that's why they were arguing. Okay, so let's go to the footage because they had this man in there, y'all. This man was supposed to be a knife expert, sitting there throwing knives at a pig's carcass, trying to prove her point. This is all nefarious. I just want you all to pay attention. Now, you think if it had been me or one of you on trial, they would have allowed them to bring in a funky, smelly, stank, old, dusty pig carcass? And then hired an expert knife slinger to come in there and throw knives at it? This is all so crazy. Claudette said pathetic. I agree. It was a whole circus in the courtroom as far as I'm concerned. And they really thought this proved their point. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Lights up, everyone, please. Like and share. For those of you who don't follow the backup channel, honey, y'all are missing out. Not self-defense, okay? She knows it and we knows it. Not that I said we knows it.
OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny back in court today. Her attorneys playing dramatic video to prove she acted in self-defense in the stabbing death of her boyfriend. They want her released on bond. CBS News Miami's Chelsea Jones is live outside the court in Miami with that video that involves a pig carcass, Chelsea?
Lauren, that is correct. But Courtney Clenny has maintained that she acted in self-defense when she allegedly stabbed her boyfriend back in April of 2022. She says he was trying to attack her. But yes, a demonstration was played in court today, and it does involve a pig carcass. So I want to show it to you. Take a look at your screens. You're looking at an expert knife thrower launching knives at that pig carcass from roughly 6 feet away. As you can see, some of the knives did stay lodged in that pig, and Clenny's attorney says that proves she isn't lying about the events from that night. It all happened back in 2022 in a Miami apartment. Clenny is accused and charged with second-degree murder of her boyfriend, Christian Abumsale.
Did I say that proved that she wasn't lying about what happened that night? No, I want you to pay attention. First of all, she's absolutely lying, okay? They know it. At the end of the day, if an expert knife thrower had to throw that many knives before one of them getting stuck in the carcass, what's the chances of her throwing one from across the room from the kitchen to the door and stabbing him in the chest? Okay, I'm sorry. This is all ridiculous. But let's continue with the foolishness.
She claims that she stabbed him in self-defense, but the attorney for the Abumsale family says there's just no way that things happen like that. Here are both attorneys on Clenny's claims that she threw that fatal knife.
It shows the court that our client is, in fact, credible. Her self-defense is credible, and the actions she took that night were necessary to save her own life.
What? Not here. Skeletor fan said, which one is the pig? Honey, this is all nefarious. I absolutely can. Okay. So they got the biggest, most humongous expert knife slinger that they could find. So that he could come in there and show us all how it went down. Is that what they did? And I want you to pay attention because he had to throw several knives, in fact. And mind you, he was only 6 feet away, where she claims, that she was about 10 feet away. Okay? She was supposedly about 10 feet away, and she wants us to think that she threw that knife across the room. Poop, 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 poop. Can y'all imagine it? It must have been going in slow motion. And then that knife landed miraculously in the man's chest. Are you serious? This is all so crazy. This is all so damn crazy. Skeletor fan said the queen is the only one I know that can listen to her own voice. This is all so ridiculous. Okay? And that man was only 6 feet away. And yeah, he's a bit robust, shall I say. He's a bit robust. So it's no wonder he got one of the knives to stick. Okay? But you mean to tell me little old Courtney Clenny was able to throw that knife across the room as an expert knife thrower? No. Here's what they should have done. You see, if they wanted to be fair and do something so foolish and overly dramatic as this, what they should have in fact done is gotten a person who's not an expert knife slinger. Okay? And got them to stand 10 feet away, just as she claims that she did, and throw one knife, not several. She only had one chance. This man's throwing from 6 feet away, a whole lot more weight and power behind him than she has. And then he gets one to stick, barely to stick, mind you, at the end of the day. Mr. Elevation said she must be a superhero. DJ Big Six said she must be a ninja. Okay, so I'm sorry. This is all just foolishness, but let's continue.
That's inconsistent with common sense. There's no way that you would, if you throw a knife, that the knife is going to land so deep in a downward position.
Now, prosecutors are claiming that Clenny actually threw a knife from roughly 10 feet away, which is farther away than that demonstration is shown in court today. Now, the judge said next month she will make a decision on whether or not Clenny should be granted that bond. We are live in Miami tonight.
I am so done right about now. This is all nefarious. Luna Walker said that one of the pink is the pig. Thanks for telling us. Okay, I love that. I love that he said what he said, that Crazy Beach Aries. He said, that's inconsistent with common sense. Okay? I'm going to have to use that. All right, Mission's Vision said, LOL, she's Houdini. She would have to be. Bobo said, what a joke. Swift said, Kung Fu movie. This is all crazy. I mean, who did she think she was? Bruce Lee? Okay, Chuck Norris? Okay, David Carradine in Kung Fu, slinging a knife across the room and it lands in his chest. Girl, stop. At the end of the night, I almost said at the end of the knife. At the end of the day, the knife was plunged into his chest at a downward angle. It absolutely was, according to the autopsy reports. And I reported this to you guys when she first got arrested. Now they want us to see this overly dramatic display of foolishness. And this is supposed to convince us somehow, some way that she's telling the truth, that it was, in fact, self-defense, that she did fear for her own life. No. That's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. So anyway, with that all being said, we're going to be on the backup channel right after this. I'm about to end this broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. Please like and share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell Okay, and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Where are my moderators at? Are they on snooze? Moderators, where are you guys at? I don't see any moderators. Okay, they must be still working. You know, y'all know my moderators have day jobs. Okay, so they can't always be here. So since they're not here, let me just drop the link to the backup channel. I saw someone ask for it. I don't remember who, but I'm going to drop the link to the backup channel. Okay, Terry Hidden said foolishness. Yes, absolutely. Desmond, you're here. Okay, well, I needed you to drop the link, but don't worry, I got it. I got it all under control, beloved. Thank you. All right, so with that all being said, everyone please like and share, and hope to see you all in the next broadcast, starting not right after this, starting at, let's give it 10 after 2. Okay, about 10 after 2. So make sure you're looking for the notifications. If you don't get the notifications, just go to the community tab on the backup channel, and the link's going to be posted right there. It's also going to be posted on Twitter. Okay, that's where I always post the links. And for those of you who keep saying that you're not getting the notifications, if you want to get the links, always just go to my Twitter and my YouTube community tab. I post them there every day. All right. So anyway, with that all been said, I love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Gold all in my skin. God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther. Shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people. I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations. America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. That's See right. A bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece. This time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got